Welcome back to Honest Information for Powerful Lives. This is the series, number 2 in this series, We the People Choose to Make America Better. Now, before we get to the point to where we're actually discussing a whole lot of different areas on how to make America better, we have to look at how we got here and why we got here. If you're a business person and something's wrong with your company, the first thing you're going to want to know is, why are we doing this? Our company's failing. Why are we doing this particular thing? If you're a parent and your child's having problems, you're going to want to say, help me evaluate where I am, how I got here, and how I can go forward. Because until you know the parameters, the points, the issues, whatever you want to call them, until you know the reasons you got where you are not going to be able to go forward and to be better. So let's talk about some of the reasons that we are where we are. Now, a lot of people have called me and they talk about what we're seeing on the outside. So that's what I'm talking about today. Protesters that are burning down buildings, politicians that are lying and saying, let's do this, it will help America. And once they do it, then we go into decline. Safety issues. Old women are getting beaten up and stabbed and killed and thrown downstairs. Mothers are running outside and taking their babies. I read an article about this, taking their 2-month-old baby and throwing them on the pavement, the road pavement, 2 or 3 times before neighbors stopped her, and the child died because of that. People that are killing their children and their spouse because they just can't take it anymore. For heaven's sakes, our schools are erupting in all kinds of violence and bullying. We have trafficking. We have all kinds of things. Most of it is built around frustrations and violence. Now, how did we get here? Let's take the first thing. Let's look at it as, for all of this that we're going to discuss today, I've got 12 areas to discuss today, so I'm going to try to hurry and get through it very quickly. Let's look at it from the beginning. And what I mean by that, we have to start with parenting, because what got us a generation that cannot look at facts, but rather wants to force you to do something? What got us there? What got us to a generation who says, you're not going to do what I want you to do for me? I'm going to kill you, or I'm going to beat you up, or I'm going to stab you. What got us to that point? What got us to the point to where people would rather believe in something that is not true than to search out the truth? What got us to the point of people preferring to sit on their couch and watch TV and take money from other Americans who are working hard than to get up and do their own work? What got us to that point? Well, to find that out, you have to look at a generation as if they were children in their parents' home. Now, I'm not calling them children today, although some of them act like it. But I am saying, if we go back and view their life as a child, what would we find? Because what you learn in your home and at the feet of your parents, or at the supper table, what you learn there goes with you your whole life. Now, there are things that can change it. You can have major transformation in your life for one reason or another. Maybe you lose a loved one, or maybe you lose your home or your business. Maybe you have an accident and you are transformed because you really start thinking about your life and you say, I don't want to be this way anymore. I don't want to have these troubles anymore. And so you get your act together. How many times have people told you, well, I was strung out on all kinds of medications or on illegal drugs and my life was a mess. And one day I was at rock bottom and I decided to change something. Well, that can happen. And it can happen. People go through a divorce. That was really bad and that was awful. And I'm wondering if some of it was my fault. And I'm at rock bottom, so I'm going to change. You know what's so funny to me? People don't like to be uncomfortable. But how many people wake up in the morning and they say, I've got all the money I want. I've got all the stuff I want. I've got a nice wife or spouse. I've got kids. I've got a brand new car. I've got a great job and I've got plenty of money. I think I'll change everything. Nobody says that. When you've got all that, you get up in the morning going, don't let anything change. Don't let anything change. I don't want anything to change because I've got it all. Yeah. You only change when you recognize that things are wrong in your life. So that's where we're coming from. So let's go through these as quickly as we can. Number 1, if a parent allows the child to scream and pitch temper tantrums, what is going to happen when they're 12? If they don't get something they want, they're going to scream and pitch a different kind of temper tantrum. What happens when they're 18? They're going to scream and pitch a different kind of temper tantrum. What happens when they are interacting with other adults? They may not scream because the other adults would reject them and not like them, but they will find a way to control others. They will find a way to get out there and make sure everybody's wanting to do for them and wanting to do what they want. And it won't matter what the facts are. Well, look at society today. What's happening? I don't believe the protests were calm and thoughtful. They were violent and they were destructive. What is happening about climate change? You will do it my way or else. I don't care if you lose your home and everything you've got. You're going to do it my way. What about the schools? You don't have any rights in here with your children. You have to do it our way. So maybe this thing of allowing children or even adults to scream and pitch temper tantrums, maybe that's not a good thing because that doesn't get us where we need to go. Number 2, if you allow the child to rail against facts, what happens when they're 12, 18, and adult? They don't accept facts. I remember taking my daughter, Amy, she was about 4, into the grocery store. And we were on a very tight budget because I had twins and then I had Kenny, single. And Jamie, Amy, and Kenny. And I was not working. I was staying home to take care of the kids and the house and do things for the church and that kind of stuff. So we were on a tight budget. And we were going down an aisle toward the checkout lady. And you know how they pack the aisles right there. And Amy wanted a toy, a plastic toy that I knew was probably cheaper than what you got at McDonald's, and it was going to break as quickly as possible. By the time we got in the car, it was going to be broken. And I said, no. And she started crying. And I said, stop that. Mommy can't afford it, and we are not going to get it. That was the fact. We couldn't afford it. And I wasn't going to get something that was going to break anyway. So she upped the crying. By this time, I'm right at the checkout lady, and I said, excuse me, ma'am, I'm going to put my buggy right over here. You can help somebody else, and I'll get back in line in a minute. I grabbed my purse. I grabbed Amy. We went outside, and we had a talk. And I said, you will not do this, and I expect you to go back in there and sit quietly and comfortably, well, not comfortably, but sit in the buggy and be quiet until I check out. And we will talk about this more at home. Well, in my household, by the way I had raised them, that was enough. She knew I meant business, and there would be some punishment if she didn't stop. So we go back and we get in line. And the checkout lady whispered to me, and she said, "There's a checkout line down there, and they don't have toys on it." And I looked right at her and I said, "No, we will go through this line because my daughter can do this. She is smart." And I'm looking right at Amy. She is smart and she is strong and she can do this. The lady was like, "Okay." So Amy was snubbing, but she sat there. We got our groceries up. We're checking out. And the checkout lady's kind of looking at me and she said, "Well, can she have a lollipop?" I said, "Sure, that'll be fine." And she gave her a lollipop and we headed home. And for the next 4 weeks, every time I went to the store, Amy went with me and we practiced going in that same aisle, looking at that same toy and saying no. Because I wanted her to understand that facts are real and you have to obey those facts. How many people in our society right now refuse to accept the facts, or they make up their own facts? That's a problem because that will cause decline. Number 3, you allow the child to be destructive. What is that going to do all along the way? No respect for other people's property, no respect for other people's feelings, just destructive about everything, even in their own life. Destructive about their own possessions, so that they become like most stuff. They're throwaway items. "Oh, I'll keep it for a year, and if it breaks, I'll throw it away and go buy another one." You're going to be working a lot to replace all that. Don't allow children to be destructive because that will follow them. Number 4, allow the child to be selfish. That's a biggie. I always compliment adults that I see now that are not selfish. We have 2 adult men that live close to us. They're in their 20s, and I won't say their names here online because I don't have permission for that right now. But these guys are the most unselfish guys. They go around the neighborhood, and anyone that is a widow or that has medical problems, they mow their grass. They scrape their driveways and their sidewalks in the wintertime from the snow. These are the most unselfish, nicest men I've ever met. That kind of person is going to make America a greater place to live in, because you know you can trust them and because they are there to help you. People must learn how to give, because a person that doesn't know how to give and a person that's selfish, they are the meanest, angriest, most saddest people I know. People that are selfish cannot see anything good about anybody else. So that's part of the decline of America. Allow the child to be a bully. Being a bully gets back to destruction and to violence. And if you're a bully, you don't know how to get what you really want. You see, all bullies have low self-esteem. And they're out there trying to force others to give them the respect and the love that they need. And you can't do that. You have to earn that. And so if we have a country of bullies or low self-esteem people, it will be a miserable place to live in. Number 6, when you take up for your child, even when they are wrong. How many of you teachers have had that happen? The child is doing something wrong, and the parents in there saying, no, you can't punish them. They're wonderful. They're terrific. Hello, they did something wrong. Let them stand up and take their punishment. When you don't do that, you are teaching them to lie. The biggest complaint that I have from people who call me, text me, or connect with me online is that I am so discouraged because I feel like no one tells the truth anymore. Well, there's a couple of things aiding and abetting that lie system. When you can't talk to somebody and when you can't recognize truth or recognize the facts, you wind up using a lie to prove your point. And when you can't accept that you have done something wrong or said something wrong or been dishonorable, there's no changing in you. And so you have to begin to lie about your life. Don't teach your kids to lie. If they do something wrong, tell them what I have told my kids and I tell my grandkids. Put your hands on your hips, stand up straight, and face the music and say, yep, I did that. I'm very sorry. Please forgive me, but yes, I did that. Teach them to be honest. Number 7, when you refuse to insist on responsibility, you got a mess in your home, in your community, and in our country and in the world. People have to accept responsibility for what they do. From age 2 up, every child needs to practice responsibility. Give them a job to do. Even a 2-year-old can set the table. Even a 2-year-old can help you sweep the floor. They can help you put the trash in the trash can. They can do something. Give them a responsibility. It teaches them to be honorable in their life and to say, yep, that's my job. I can do that. Number 8, real intelligence. Ooh, hope you're ready for the discussions here. Real intelligence includes common sense. Don't tell me you're a genius or you're intelligent. You're intelligent if you know a lot of book stuff, but you know nothing about life. That's not real intelligence. Real intelligence is when you know facts, but you can apply them to your life and you can make your life better. And while you're making your life better, you're making your family better, you're making the community better, you're making America better. So learn some common sense. I practice something with my grandkids all the time because they were having a problem. Well, what do I do in this situation? Because this one is different from the one last week. And last week you told me to do this, and this week you're telling me to do this. So we play a game called Cause and Effect. If you're swinging your book bag around and the glass falls over and breaks, what was the cause? The cause was you were swinging your book bag around. What was the effect? You broke the glass. Look at life always by asking what was the cause and what is the effect. Number 9, have a worldview. If parents do not teach their children to look beyond themselves and have a worldview, there's going to be problems. Because what is that force? If you're not looking at the world or the community or anybody else, if you can't look at other people in your classroom, if you can't see someone having a hard time and feel compassion for them, you're going to be the worst bully of all. You're going to be a horrible person. We have to have a worldview because worldview helps other people, but it also gives you a purpose for living a good life. You are saying, this is what I want to do with my life, but I'm going to look out at the world and everybody else and see, what can I do to help? What is my purpose in life? A lot of parents in churches let their kids help in younger age groups, in Sunday school classes or whatever. They have responsibility that way, but they also have a different worldview. To help with missionaries, to gather money and to send it to missionaries, or to help with different social groups, getting them involved with that. It gives you a worldview, and that will give you a purpose. Number 10, be grateful. Parents should teach kids to be grateful. Parents themselves have to be grateful. No matter what your circumstance is, you can be grateful. There was an old movie. Oh, mercy, now the name leaves me. I can see her in my head. Anyway, it's about a little girl that was an orphan girl. She goes to live with her aunt, and everybody in town is grumpy and sad and depressed for a lot of other reasons. And she tells them about Pollyanna was the name of it. She tells them that her father taught her to play the glad game. She said, when we would get missionary barrels to help us out, I would wish and wish for a doll, and I never got a doll. But the glad game helped me to be grateful anyway. So when we got the crutches, my dad said, let's be grateful that we don't have to use those. Wow. Isn't that great? To be grateful for everything you have. There is no reason in America that people can't get up in the morning and be grateful for something. We have a beautiful land, but we have water. Do you realize how many people across the globe have to walk miles and miles and miles for water? And we can just go in a store and buy it, or we can go buy a public fountain and drink it, or it's piped into our homes. We have food. We have people in America that don't get enough food, but we also have the greatest amount of food in our country than in any other country that's available to us. Our grocery stores. I had a pastor friend come over from Uganda, and he stood at a grocery store and just cried looking around. Look at what you have. We need to be grateful, because when you're grateful, not only does it fill you with happiness and joy over what you do have, but you can also be compassionate to other people because you want to share what you do have. Number 11, willing to work for and achieve your goals. And I have here on my notes, I don't need handouts. Now, there are times all of us need a hand up, and there are times all of us may get in for one reason or another. Some of us may get in a bad situation and we really need help getting out of it. But that's different than a hand out. If you can and you are physically able to work, you should work, because working brings with it a great joy, a great purpose. You get that dollar bill in your hand and you know, I made that all by myself. The problem is parents don't make their kids work for anything. They don't give them any chores around the house. They don't make them grateful over what they do have that comes for free. And then they don't want to work for extra money that they need. I remember Jamie was talking to me one time about when, he was 10, 11. And a friend of his got all the, what was the name of that toy? Transformers he wanted. Well, Transformers were expensive. And I said, how did he get all of these? Well, he gets $25 a week. What does he get? What does he do for that $25 a week? Nothing. It's just his allowance. Really? He doesn't make his bed? No, they have a maid. Does he mow the grass? No, they have a yard company. He just gets $25. And I knew where Jamie was going with this. He wanted an allowance, right? I said, okay, I'll give you an allowance. But here's what you're going to have to do. You're going to have to pay me $1 for every meal. You're going to have to pay me to clean your room. You're going to have to buy all of your clothes. You're going to have to get some insurance because, you've had a couple times you've had to go to the doctor. So you'll need to pay for some insurance, and you'll need to pay me or somebody to take you to school and to all the practices you want to go to. And if you want to go to the movies, you'll have to pay for that. And Jamie says, I won't have anything left. I said, honey, you get that from me for doing a few things around the house. So you can either keep your chores up and get those free, or I can pay you $25, but then you have to pay for everything else. He became very grateful, and he became willing to work instantly. Don't give your kids handouts all the time. That is teaching them to live off of other handouts from other people. And number 12, give them to God. Now, we had a time in this country when I was growing up when you couldn't go anywhere on Sunday. It wasn't open because people were in church. People went to church. And they acknowledged that there was a God. They acknowledged gratefulness for getting us through World War I, World War II. God made a difference in their lives. And here's the thing, the Bible teaches all the other things, all the 11 other things that I've talked to you about. The Bible teaches that and more. The Bible can make you a better person. It can make me a better person. It can take the worst of the worst and help them to be better. I went to a conference when I was a teenager, and I don't remember the guy's name, but the speaker was a very wealthy businessman. And he admitted that he had always been agnostic toward God. But he had this business and it was growing, and he did everything he could to get the workers to put out the most work that they could. And there were 3 men in his company that were outdoing everybody else. And when he talked to them and investigated, those 3 men were Christians. And when he asked them, why do you do it this way? Because I want to honor God. Well, why do you do it this way? Because I'm a Christian. Well, why do you do it this way? Because I read in my Bible that I need to be the best worker possible. So this businessman started reading the Bible just to find out all the principles that were in there that could help his company. And he fell in love with God and with Jesus and with the Christian life. And he said, I am a devout Christian now because I know what Christianity brings me to. It tells me to be a better person. So, why is America in decline? Because people are pitching temper tantrums, because people rail against the facts, because people are destructive, because people are selfish, because people are bullies, because people are lying, and even when they're wrong, they keep lying, because people refuse to insist on taking responsibility for anything, because people don't have common sense, because people don't have a worldview or compassion, because people aren't grateful, and because people are not willing to work for their goals. And finally, because people have lost God. I say that in our talk of we the people choose to make America better, if we can discuss all of these and make some progress, we will be able to make America better. I hope you'll hit the subscribe button. I hope you will go to my website, DebbieJansen.com, and you can go to my read articles, but you can also go to my store. I have lots of resources there and more to come. And I look forward to seeing you again on Honest Information for Powerful Lives.